Hello, everyone. Right now, I'm doing this video to clarify what we're going to be doing in terms of assignments for the rest of the semester. We're down when, you're facing Thanksgiving. I just got a grandchild. We just got a grandson. And so everything's been chaotic. I know some of you have had kids, and so school's going to be going into hiatus for a little bit, Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I've decided to make some cuts and reduce the workload. So I wanted to remind everybody, the second essay, several of you have turned that in. That is the one I sent out assignment for, and I changed it to the 18th to give you more time. It's the one that has, say, 3 to 5 pages. If you go less than that, 3 pages, that's fine. And it's about dealing with a series of scenarios. You choose one of these. 2 Muslim families from Somalia move to your school. Southeast Asian refugees come to your school. Refugee families from Iraq or Middle East come to your school. Guatemalans come to your school. And so I've given you 4 scenarios. And I just want to say as an aside that those scenarios I had you do on the discussion were magnificent. They were so complicated and so detailed. I'm going to be working with those to share those with you. It won't be an assignment, but they're just so damn good that I'm amazed, especially the special education situations. It wasn't just multicultural, but it was dealing with situations with other teachers, administrators, or parents, especially angry parents. Okay, so that is due on the 18th. But if you I'm a kind-hearted person, just get it to me in the next week and a half or so. So I have finished almost all of the interviews. I think there's a few that are coming in. Just get those to me. I realize you're all teachers. And online assignments, it's not like you're in college and this is your life. This is something you're working on the side, so I'm pretty darn easygoing when it comes to getting things due. Now, I'm going to be sending you the week 13 assignment, which is really about what the rest of the semester is going to look like in terms of the big stuff. And so what I'm going to be posting this week is there'll be no discussion or no homework. You do have this paper I just mentioned, the scenario paper, due next week on the 18th or thereabouts. Submit that to me by email, okay? I probably should have had you do it all by Canvas, but I like email. I guess I got used to it over the years when other things didn't work. So you got essay number 2, the scenario paper, due on Sunday. Now I'm going to put up one video called 9500 Liberty, which I don't think I've ever shown you unless you're in another class of mine, but it deals with Manassas, Virginia in about 2004, and it's when a city council tries to enforce immigration law, and it gets really ugly. And what's cool about the video is it shows on the ground level people being angry, upset, people yelling. I mean, it's very dramatic, and it has the city council trying to enforce federal immigration law. And ironically, one of the people in the video just was defeated for governor of Virginia. He was running for senator. He had run for governor and failed, and he was running for senator, and first name Cody, I forget his last name, will come to me. But he was defeated just last week, or this past week, for senator in Virginia. So it's a very up-to-date movie, and it's upsetting because it deals with school kids a lot and anger in the community. Okay, now, so I'm going to put that video up. So you got the paper on Sunday, the video to watch, and all you have to do is watch it, okay? And then I've got this 3 options for the final paper, which will be due on the 7th of December. I'm putting it off as long as possible. I give you about almost a month to work on it, about 27 days. And I'm cutting it down in length. I put on here, I want it to be maybe 3 pages long. Not 2, that's too little, but 3 to 4 is plenty. You've got 3 options for this final paper. One of them is to do a multicultural annotated bibliography. And I put an example here, and you'll see it when you look on the assignment. It looks a little long, but I got it in color. The key stuff on the computer will be in red. You don't have to make it quite this long, but you have to do 10 entries. Instead of 20, I'm cutting it to 10. So you should be able to get it on almost 3 pages. And you should pick books that would be useful in your library, or videos, or even DVDs or websites. Okay? Three Stooges clock going off, and never fails. So I would like you to do 10 entries if you choose to do the annotated bib. And if you don't know what annotated bib is, I've given you a little structure here, and then I've written an example down here. So it talks about the book. So I want you to address 3 things: a little summary about the book or the DVD or whatever it is, the value of it in terms of for your school's curriculum, 1 or 2 sentences there. And then in 2 sentences, describe the how it would be useful in your particular school and what grade levels it'd be useful for. Okay. Now, I already have some of these, and I'll give them out at the end of the semester. I was going to give them out earlier, but that would be the assignment. So I have a lot of good ones from the summer. And what I've done is I've gone through and picked out stuff to make this vast bib from other bibs that people have done. And so it's like resources that you might be able to purchase for your school, or websites you could go to. So you got one option is 10 bibliography entries. But you don't have to do that. There's another option. There's 2 wildcard assignments. I call them wildcard because I just made them up. I mean, I made them up a long time ago, but they're different. So you could create a game or an activity for your class. And I've got all my details in here. You could make one about the Navajo belief system. You can make sand paintings. You don't have to do all this stuff. You just have to write a 3-page lesson plan describing it, or describing a game if you want to make up a game. I've had people make games. World War I, the Crusades. It could deal with deep culture, subjective values. It could deal with teaching about Islamic culture and Ramadan. You could do a little game about Ramadan. Or you could, now I'm not going to ask you to make the game board, but if you want to know, I can give you more instructions on where to actually get game boards. And I have some cool ones. And if you're interested in that, just give me an email, and I'll actually do a video and show these to you. So I just put on here a 2 or 3-page lesson plan, activity lesson. And it would talk about why is this activity needed? How will this change attitudes? The idea of this activity is that it will get people to think differently about other cultures, or to be more curious about them, or to even be able to explain their own culture. How will this activity change your own students and promote critical thinking? So that's all option number 2. So I call it wildcard option number, it's option number 2. It's the first wildcard option you have. The second wildcard option, which is under option number 3, and these are all 100 points, and even though they're not going to be as long, what the heck, 100 points, you know? I want you guys to go into Christmas with something useful, and I don't want you to spend the last 3 weeks in this class trying to write research papers, okay? Don't show this to anybody, because then people say, well, you should have them write research papers. Not a big fan. Unless you're going to publish them, why do the research, you know? Now, the last one is really different, and it's based on movies. And what it is you'll choose a character for some of the movies. Now, I usually use a movie, and I left it in here, called Precious, which is a movie about some of you have seen it. It's a famous movie, a documentary about an African-American girl that's abused and trying to get through school, and she has everything against her. Plus, she has 2 children. She gets pregnant in the movie and then has a baby in the movie, and she already has 1 child, and her mother's just terrible to her. And so what I ask you to do is put yourself in the case, in the place of one of the characters in the movie, and analyze them from that perspective. And the movies are Precious, which if you just look up Precious, you'll see it. A second one is 9500 Liberty, which is the movie I'm posting this week about Manassas, Virginia. The third one is God Grew Tired of Us. This is about the lost boys of the Sudan. And John Bull Dow is the main character, but you may choose other people. It's about the South Sudanese children who escaped being massacred, but then were gradually slaughtered by wild animals and by people shooting at them or bombing them as they ran in groups all over Central Africa. It's a horrible thing. Yemen right now is like that. Look up Yemen, Y-E-M-E-N, if you want to know about that. You could choose that movie Out of the Past. Kelly Peterson in Utah, Salt Lake City High School, who started a gay-straight alliance club at her school, so that's sexual orientation. Or you could choose one of the characters from New Faces on Main Street, which I believe I've already shown you. It's about kind of an old video, but it talks about people moving to do meatpacking work in Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. So you can choose a character, any character in those movies. Could even be an obscure character. And all I want you to do is just write about it and then talk about analysis of the situation the character is in, explaining the intercultural awareness. You remember that about the defensive stage or the invisible stage or the denial stage, I called it. So denial, defense, and condescending or stage, that third stage, where you kind of ignore differences in culture. So, and then suggest 2 strategies you might use to, if you were that person in that, you could do something in that movie to make things better. You know, and don't worry about the character. I mean, if you can step outside of it and give your own opinion. You don't have to be the character. It's not like a first-person acting job. But those are the 3 options, and I put that down for December 7th. So that gives you quite a bit of time, and you can submit those early if you want. I've had a lot of stuff come in earlier. As far as the courses from now on, I'm going to try to leave you alone. I will just give you some very light, maybe discussion, very brief. And I want to mention that the discussion in which you created scenarios is incredible. I just couldn't, I read them so fast. I'd read them like you'd read a novel where you're so excited you want to find out what's next. They're amazing. And so I want to share some of those with you, not in terms of giving you more homework, but just I want you to have that things to think about. And they were great. One of those, the one that really got me is the one where you had people ignoring IEPs, or you had people not dealing with ESL kids, English language learners, or English learners as they're now referred to. That's the new thing now. EL, we don't call them ELL, we don't call them ESL, we call them EL. You know, eventually we'll shorten everything to one letter. I don't think so, but maybe we will. So that's the game plan, and I'm going to send this to you with this video. And then if you have any questions, just focus on the second essay due on the 18th on scenarios and watching the video this week, just watching it. And then the other thing is the final paper, which you've got all these options. I'm really open to anything. I mean, if you want for the final paper, if you want to write a little essay of your own of some type, that's fine too. You can ask me about it or not. But I want to just share with you that those interviews also were incredible. I'm actually going back through those. I asked you about sharing those, and I'm going to look at those carefully because some people criticize their school, and rightly so. But I don't want to put a video, I don't want to put a paper out there saying this teacher said that, you know, such and such elementary school doesn't really know what they're doing with ESL kids or SPED kids or something. So I'm going to cut out names for those because I don't want to get them in trouble. But I love reading it because you want to know the nitty gritty, you know, call it gossip, call it what you want. Also, I'm also doing a printout showing the rest of the ESL related graduate classes. Now, some of you aren't doing ESL at all, but I'm doing it because I'm trying to set up. I'm kind of the lone person teaching all the ESL, except for Dr. Lai down there that teaches the linguistics in our college. And I've got, for graduates, I do most of the others. I'm trying to get more people in because I don't want you to see my face all the time. It's got to be horrible. You know, you don't want to have the same teacher all the time. You want, because you all fall into bad habits. Same stories. You know, I'm really guarding against getting older. I'm trying to think of new stories. But sometimes I just have to lie because I don't have any new stories. So, but I want to thank you. I'm trying to keep all the grades up. I'll put the last discussions in. The interviews, I've put the grades up. I've got a few more coming in. Now, that first essay on your culture, I'm putting those in a slot and I'm reading all those together. So I'm putting off grading those till the end. Not the end, but like later in the week. Those are really interesting too, because I learned so much about local towns and their history. And I like history, so this stuff's great. I probably won't share those, but I want to share these interviews because there's so much you can learn. You guys teach far more than I teach. It's amazing your collective wisdom. So I'm going to shut up now because I don't want this to go too long. So thank you, and you can email me with questions.